Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you were there? Or maybe you've met someone new, only to lose their name within minutes? If so, you're not alone. Memory slips are part of daily life, especially as we grow older, but they can also be frustrating and even a little scary. That's why simple techniques that claim to sharpen memory instantly catch our attention. And today's topic is one of those surprisingly simple, yet fascinating tricks. Touching two fingers together for 30 seconds to give your memory a quick boost. At first, this might sound too good to be true. How can something so small have any impact on your brain? But when we break it down, it begins to make sense. Our bodies are full of connections between the brain, nerves, and muscles. Every movement, even something as subtle as pressing your fingers together, sends signals through the nervous system. These signals don't just stay in your hand, they ripple upward, stimulating regions of your brain involved in focus, attention, and yes, memory. Think of your brain like a bustling city at night. Some areas are brightly lit, buzzing with energy, while others are dim, quiet, or waiting for a signal to light up. When you perform a focused movement, like deliberately touching two fingertips together, you're essentially flicking on the lights in a new part of that city. The touch increases sensory input, wakes up neurons, and sparks blood flow. In the process, the brain becomes a little more alert and receptive. That sudden alertness can make recalling information just a little bit easier. You've probably already experienced a version of this without realizing it. Imagine trying to remember something difficult. You might naturally start tapping your fingers on the table, rubbing your forehead, or squeezing your hands together. These small actions aren't random. They're little hacks your body uses to refocus and reconnect your mind. Scientists call it sensory motor stimulation. When movement and touch reawaken the pathways in your brain that help with thinking, now does that mean touching two fingers together is some kind of miracle cure for memory loss? Not quite. It's not going to erase years of decline or replace healthy habits like good sleep and proper nutrition. But what it can do is act as a quick trigger or reset button that helps you pull your mind back into focus. And sometimes, that small shift is all it takes to remember the detail you were searching for. Let's make this more relatable. Picture yourself about to give a presentation. You've practiced, you know your material, but suddenly your mind blanks. Instead of panicking, you quietly press your thumb and index finger together, holding it for 30 seconds while you breathe. That small action redirects your attention, calms your nerves, and reactivates your memory recall. By the time you release your fingers, the information is back. Simple, subtle, effective. Another everyday example. You're at the supermarket, and you can't remember which item you were supposed to buy for dinner. Standing there in the aisle, you touch two fingers together for a short while. You may notice that the memory comes back more easily once your brain shifts into that slightly heightened state of awareness. This is why techniques like this are often paired with mindfulness or relaxation exercises. The combination of physical touch, focused breathing, and mental intention helps bring clarity. It's less about magic and more about creating the right conditions for your brain to operate at its best. What's exciting is that these techniques don't require expensive tools or complicated training. You carry them with you wherever you go. It's empowering to know that in moments of forgetfulness, you don't have to feel helpless. You can reach for something as simple as your own fingertips. But here's the key point. The power of touching two fingers together isn't just in the physical act, it's in what it represents. It's a reminder to pause, to center yourself, and to give your brain a chance to reconnect. In our fast-paced world, we rarely give ourselves those 30 seconds of stillness. That alone can be the true source of the memory boost. Now that we've set the stage, let's get into the heart of this fascinating trick. The technique itself is incredibly simple. Press the tips of your thumb and index finger together gently. Hold that contact for about 30 seconds and focus on your breathing while you do it. That's it. No complicated steps, no equipment needed, just you and your own body. But what makes this action powerful isn't the simplicity, it's the science happening beneath the surface. When you touch your fingers together, you're activating what neuroscientists call fine motor control. Unlike larger muscle movements, like swinging your arms or walking, fine motor control requires high precision. This precision lights up a bigger portion of your brain, especially areas like the motor cortex and prefrontal cortex, which also play key roles in memory and concentration. In addition, the pressure you create by touching your fingers stimulates sensory nerves in the skin. These nerves send signals straight to the brain's somatosensory cortex, essentially giving your brain a little wake-up call. Think of it like knocking on the door of a room where your memory is hiding suddenly. The lights switch on, and the door opens more easily. There's also an emotional element to this. Many people find that pairing finger touch techniques with deep, slow breaths creates a sense of calm. And when you're calmer, your brain processes information more efficiently. Stress is one of the biggest enemies of memory. When you're anxious, cortisol levels rise, and your brain's hippocampus, the hub for memory, recall struggles to do its job. But when you relax, the hippocampus thrives. That's why this little exercise can make a difference, especially in high-pressure moments. Let's consider an example. Imagine a student sitting in an exam room. The clock is ticking, the silence feels heavy, and their brain suddenly freezes. They know the answer is somewhere in their mind, but stress is blocking the way. By pressing their thumb and finger together, holding the touch for 30 seconds, and breathing steadily, they can ease that stress response. As their body relaxes, the memory surfaces. It doesn't guarantee a perfect score, but it often makes the difference between panic and recall. Now think about someone older, maybe in their 70s, struggling to remember where they left their keys. Instead of becoming frustrated, they pause and use this technique. That short pause touching the fingers, breathing slowly does two things. It prevents the emotional spiral of "I'm losing my memory," and it allows the brain the extra second it needs to reassemble the thought. In many cases, the memory comes back not because of magic, but because the body gave the mind space to breathe. You may also notice that when you practice this finger touch regularly, it becomes a mental cue. Over time, your brain begins to associate the gesture with focus and memory recall. It's like training a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger the connection becomes. Athletes use similar cues all the time. A golfer might tap the club twice before swinging, or a runner might take a deep breath before the starting gun. These small rituals aren't superstition. They're powerful mental triggers that sharpen performance. So here's the practical advice. Don't wait until you're in a crisis of forgetfulness. Practice the two-finger technique daily. Do it when you wake up in the morning, when you're preparing to read a book, or before a meeting. Make it part of your routine. That way, when you actually need it, your brain will already be conditioned to respond. What's beautiful about this is that it doesn't require belief in anything mystical or unproven. It's grounded in the way your nervous system works, how your brain responds to touch, and how your emotions influence memory. By combining these natural processes into a single 30-second action, you're giving yourself an instant, drug-free tool for mental clarity. And let's not overlook the empowerment this brings in a world filled with supplements, gadgets, and expensive brain training apps. It's refreshing to discover that sometimes the best tools are the ones already built into us. Your fingers can become your personal reset button, always within reach, always available. As we move forward, we'll go deeper into another fascinating benefit of this technique, how it ties into blood flow and circulation, and why that matters so much for keeping the brain sharp. This isn't just about recall in the moment, it's about nourishing your brain for long-term resilience. We've explored how a simple finger-touching exercise can sharpen focus and even trigger quick recall. But let's dig a little deeper into another layer of this practice: blood flow and circulation. You see, memory isn't just about neurons firing in isolation, it's also about how well those neurons are nourished. And that nourishment comes directly from oxygen-rich blood moving through the brain. When you press your thumb and finger together, you're not only stimulating nerves, you're also engaging small muscles and capillaries in your hand. This might sound insignificant, but remember, the human circulatory system is a single interconnected network. Activating even small vessels in your hands can send signals to the brain, encouraging better circulation overall. It's like opening side streets in a busy city, which helps traffic flow more smoothly across the entire map. Better circulation means more oxygen and glucose reach your brain cells. These are the essential fuels your neurons rely on to process and store information. Without enough supply, brain function slows down. That's one reason people often feel foggy when dehydrated, tired, or stressed. Their brains aren't getting the consistent fuel flow they need. But small, intentional movements like the finger touch technique can gently kickstart that process. You might have noticed this in everyday life. Have you ever clasped your hands together tightly, then released them, feeling a rush of warmth? That's circulation at work. The same principle applies here. By engaging the hand muscles and holding that touch for 30 seconds, you're creating a mini pump effect that can benefit your brain. It's subtle, but over time, these small boosts add up. Now, why does this matter so much for memory? Because the hippocampus, the part of your brain most responsible for memory formation and recall, is extremely sensitive to blood flow. Studies have shown that even slight improvements in circulation can enhance hippocampal activity. This is why aerobic exercise like walking, swimming, or cycling is consistently linked with better memory and reduced risk of cognitive decline. But while you can't always drop everything and go for a jog, you can discreetly press two fingers together for half a minute. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're sitting at your desk in the afternoon slump. Your energy is low, your mind feels sluggish, and you can't quite focus on the task in front of you. Instead of reaching immediately for caffeine, you pause and do the finger touch technique. As you hold the contact, you breathe deeply, and within a short while, you feel slightly more awake. That extra oxygen and blood flow give your brain just enough of a boost to push through the fog. Another example comes from seniors who worry about memory lapses. For someone in their 70s or 80s, taking long walks or hitting the gym might not always be an option. But finger touch exercises are accessible to nearly everyone, no matter their age or mobility level. It's a low-risk, no-cost way to encourage circulation and keep the brain engaged, even in small doses. Of course, no single trick is a substitute for overall lifestyle. A healthy diet, regular movement, and good sleep are still the foundation of strong memory. But what makes this technique appealing is its immediacy. In moments where you need help right away before speaking in front of a group, while struggling to recall a name, or when trying to clear mental fog, this gives you something you can do instantly. And here's the fascinating part. Repetition doesn't dull its effect. In fact, the more you use this method, the stronger the brain-body connection becomes. Over time, pressing two fingers together becomes like flipping a mental switch. Your body recognizes the signal, and your brain responds even faster. It becomes part of your personal toolkit for mental clarity. Now, let's bring in a little bit of storytelling. Picture an elderly man named Hiroshi, who enjoys reading but often forgets where he left off in a book. One evening, his granddaughter shows him the two-finger trick. At first, he laughs at the simplicity, but he tries it anyway. The next morning, before opening his book, he presses his thumb and finger together, breathes, and starts reading. To his surprise, he recalls yesterday's passage more easily. It's not a miracle, it's the effect of his brain being nudged into alertness by a simple gesture. Over weeks, Hiroshi continues to use it, and it becomes part of his daily reading ritual. The beauty of this story is that it shows how something so small can bring a sense of control and confidence back into daily life. As we move into the final section, we'll wrap everything together. We'll look at how this tiny exercise can inspire bigger changes in lifestyle and mindset, and why it's more than just a trick. It's a symbol of hope, resilience, and independence, especially for those who feel their memory isn't as sharp as it once was. We've journeyed through the science and practical use of the two-finger technique, and by now, you can see it's more than just a quirky trick. It's a doorway to something much bigger, the idea that small, consistent actions can have meaningful effects on your memory, your focus, and your sense of independence. Think about what this really represents. Touching your thumb and finger together for 30 seconds is not just about memory recall, it's about reclaiming a sense of control in a world that often feels overwhelming. Memory lapses can be frustrating. They can make you doubt yourself, or even feel like you're losing touch with who you are. But when you have a tool that you can use anytime, anywhere, it changes the story. Instead of being at the mercy of forgetfulness, you become an active participant in sharpening your own mind. This is especially powerful for seniors. Many older adults worry that memory decline is inevitable, that nothing they do can make a difference. But neuroscience and real-life practice show us otherwise. The brain is remarkably adaptable. Even late in life, it can form new connections, strengthen existing ones, and respond to stimulation. By practicing this small gesture regularly, seniors remind themselves that their minds are still capable of growth and resilience. That reminder alone can boost confidence and reduce the anxiety that often makes memory problems worse. Let's also consider the psychological aspect. When you pause, touch your fingers, and breathe for 30 seconds, you're giving yourself permission to slow down. In today's fast-paced culture, we rarely allow ourselves such moments. That pause is valuable. It reduces stress hormones, centers your thoughts, and gives your brain the quiet space it needs to work. Sometimes, the memory you're searching for doesn't come because you're rushing. But when you pause, it surfaces naturally. It's also worth noting how this technique fits into a broader picture of brain health. It's a gateway habit. You might start with finger touching for memory, but it could encourage you to try other small practices, a few minutes of meditation, a short daily walk, or a commitment to drinking more water. Each small step reinforces the others, creating a web of healthy habits that protect your brain over the long run. Here's a story to illustrate that ripple effect. Picture Maria, a retired teacher who often feels anxious about forgetting things. When her daughter teaches her the two-finger trick, she tries it before making phone calls, reading, or writing grocery lists. Over time, Maria notices not only that her recall improves, but that the act of pausing calms her nerves. That calmness inspires her to try light stretching each morning. Then she begins journaling to track her thoughts. A year later, she feels more focused, more balanced, and more in control of her daily life, all sparked by one small memory-boosting habit. This is why the two-finger technique resonates with so many people. It's simple, discreet, and available to anyone, regardless of age or background. You don't need fancy tools, expensive supplements, or long training programs. You just need a few seconds, your own body, and the willingness to try. That sense of accessibility is what makes it so empowering. Of course, it's important to be realistic. This exercise won't replace a healthy lifestyle, nor will it cure serious medical conditions like dementia. But it can be a valuable companion. It gives people hope, a daily reminder that their brain still responds, still adapts, still listens. And in the world of memory, hope is a powerful medicine. So the next time you find yourself forgetting a name, a detail, or an idea, don't panic. Pause, bring your thumb and finger together, and hold. Breathe deeply, relax, and let your mind reset. Give it those 30 seconds of focused attention. You may be surprised at how quickly your memory comes back. As we wrap up, remember this. The strength of your brain is not defined by age or by the occasional slip. It's defined by how you nurture it, how you challenge it, and how you believe in its resilience. This tiny gesture touching two fingers for half a minute symbolizes something far greater. It's a reminder that your mind is alive, adaptable, and capable of clarity. And perhaps most importantly, it's a reminder of independence. For seniors especially, being able to rely on a personal, built-in technique for memory support means freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from doubt, freedom to live with confidence. So go ahead, try it. The next time your memory wavers, touch those two fingers together, breathe, and feel the power of your brain reconnecting. You'll not only boost your recall in the moment, but you'll also carry with you a deeper sense of strength, hope, and independence every single day.